You're tuned in to Vibration Frequency, vibrationfrequency.com. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Vibration Frequency. Feel the vibe. Reaching out to the four corners of the globe and broadcasting to you live from the studios of Vibration Frequency. Ladies and gentlemen, get ready for another live episode of the world's only show that explores the root of the medical cannabis movement. This is the Marijualogist, and I am your humble host, Richard Karr. Joining us, as always, is my esteemed colleague, whose seat is now empty, but don't worry, he'll be here. Ikkor the Wolf will be joining us shortly on the show, but we thought that we had created too much anticipation for the show, so we thought we would go live without him. I miss him, and he's on his way. But in the meantime and in between time, we've got a great show lined up for you. I got to tell you, man, we've got some great guests who have joined us live in the studio tonight. We've got a good friend who is joining us via Skype tonight, and we're going to be introducing him a little bit later. I found out here tonight on the show that there was a mutual connection between myself, one of the guests who is live in the studio, and of course, one of our guests who is live via Skype, who has been on our show before. So, as it turns out, well, let's just get to the business at hand. We've got two legendary actors joining us here on what is a cannabis show, which I found to be quite interesting. And I know this is going to be a very entertaining show. We've talked to athletes. We've talked to police officers. We've talked to DEA agents. We've talked to DAs. We've talked to judges. Oh, my God. Who haven't we talked to when it comes down to the issue of cannabis? We've talked to so many different voices. But I must say that in the near 11 years that we've been doing this show, I have seldom talked to actors about cannabis. And I think it's very apropos tonight that we've got some legendary, pardon me, I'll say that one more time, legendary actors in the building tonight, legendary black actors who are familiar with L.A. and know the L.A. culture. Without further ado, let me shut up and just welcome them. Hey, welcome Ella Joyce and Dan Martin to the show tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, we're just getting started with all of that.
I love that applause.
Thank you very much. It's tiny little people who live in my board or in my head. I'm not sure. Y'all tell me. All right, so we've also got on the line with us tonight a good friend of mine. I've known him for many, many years. He is the manager of a CBD dispensary out in Philadelphia, yay. I'd like to welcome him to the show as well, Mr. Donnie Gravatt. Don, are you there?
I think he's kind of like behind us.
Yeah, that's all right. That's all right. He's going to fix it.
He's on Skype,
He's
right?
going to make that all work out. Trust me.
Yeah.
Boom, there he
We're
is.
live in person.
So, Don, unmute yourself and introduce yourself to our show. Don, can you hear me? Can you unmute yourself, please?
Yes, I am.
Now you're too loud. All right, I got you.
I just-
that's all right. That's all right. He's gonna fix it.
And you've got to turn down your radio in the background.
There he is. So Don,
Yeah. Turn down your radio in the background.
Can you hear me?
I can.
can you mute yourself?
Okay. Wait. Yes, I am.
Rookies. I'm sorry.
Maybe he could move over just a little touch.
No, he's all right. I'm
He's
gonna
okay?
I'm gonna go to full screen with him when he's ready. So it's all good with him. So Don, welcome to the show.
There we go.
There we go.
Mute yourself. Okay. Wait. Yes.
Yeah, you've got the show on in the background. We've done this with you before. Don't worry about it. I got to get to the folks in the studio right now. They're more important than you. I got to keep it.
Oh, nah.
They're much more important than you, my brother. But anyway, Don, welcome to the show. But more importantly, we've got Ella Joyce and Dan Martin live in our studio tonight. One more time, a rousing round of applause for them. And we'll get Don situated in a minute. Yeah, it's all good. We'll get him situated. Anyway, so, before we got started, Miss Joyce, before you got here, Don and Dan had a most invigorating conversation. And they were talking about what's going on in Pennsylvania as it relates to cannabis. I did not know until he asked that question that he is actually my homeboy from the same state of Pennsylvania.
Pittsburgh, yeah.
Yes.
Word.
Yes.
So in asking that question, I said, well, why do you ask? And he said, well, I'm from Pittsburgh. And I'm like, whoa, I'm from Philly. So I want to start with Dan and the question of cannabis as it relates to your life as an actor. And then we're going to talk to Ella Joyce as well. And then we're going to talk about what is going on nationally in the cannabis industry. And we're going to get Don dialed in via Skype. So let's start with you, Dan.
It's interesting that you ask about cannabis and my life as an actor. They're both pretty separate tracks, but they both inform a large portion of my life. I mean, I've been acting now for quite some time. I first started back in college, and I guess I smoked weed.
That's what they called it back then.
Was what I call it still now,
No.
And they used to call it grass.
The grass and Mary Jane, all kind of stuff. But again, it goes back to that early period. So I think that, when I'm studying, when I'm practicing, rehearsing at home, I can do that. But when I'm at a rehearsal or dealing with other people or working on the craft itself, I cannot. So it's interesting because there are times when I can go ahead and just smoke and other times when I can't because I'm working. And I think as long as I'm able to keep that kind of a balance, work, play,
It works out.
It works out real well.
So, the reason I brought up the issue that you are both actors in the industry, and we're going to get to Miss Ella Joyce momentarily, is that I know that there's got to be some stigma in the entertainment industry, even though cannabis is well known and widely used in the entertainment industry. Is there still, I said I know, I don't really know. You guys are the pros. Is there still an issue with cannabis as it relates to professionalism in the entertainment industry? How's that work? I want to go to Dan.
Oh, okay. Well, as far as I'm concerned, as long
Works
as
fine
it
for you.
doesn't infringe on the work, it's okay. I mean, that would be the only stigma, and it would be the same as if anybody, were drinking and they were an alcoholic.
Right.
If you're drinking on the job, you're not good. If you're smoking on the job, you're not good. But you can smoke as much as you want once the clock is ticked, once you're done. Curtains closed, go, have that,
Have at it.
But just don't do it when you're supposed to be working.
Right.
Like I said, work, play. You can't, if you play instead of work, you're going to mess up. And your word will get out, and then it won't just be a stigma about marijuana. It's really a stigma about you.
Being a druggie or something like that.
Right. Or an alcoholic, like I said, either one.
It can
Or
happen.
even as we have now a larger opioid crisis they talk about. Anybody who, gets caught up in an abuse of pain meds and allows that to influence the work. If you allow any chemical substance to influence the work, then you've messed up. That's it.
All right. Okay. Church, as the right reverend would say. All right, now, so we've got Miss Ella Joyce, who joins us live in the studio as well, and thank you so much, Ella, for joining us. This ain't our first time. This ain't our first time being together.
I love that applause.
You like that, Ella? Let me get to you one more time.
Yeah, I give her applause at home sometimes. Keep it up.
Hey, if you got a flash drive,
oh, baby, this tastes good.
Yeah,
there you go. Hold on.
that's a drug.
If you got a flash drive, I'll give it to you, Dan. Miss Ella Joyce.
Yes, darling.
Legendary actress.
Oh, well.
So many things you both have been in. How do you weigh in on the cannabis issue as it relates to being an actor and making sure no one stigmatizes you as a druggie?
Well, I'm probably stigmatized as half crazy anyway, so it don't really matter. I'm just glad it's legal. That's all I can say.
I know that's right.
Legalizing it was the best thing that really ever happened. Because if you really want to know the truth, everybody get high. A lot of people be smoking. Everybody in the industry been smoking for years, for decades. You know, when I think about people like some of the great actors in the old days, like, you know, Robert Mitchum and all of them that got busted for having a joint. Yeah, for a joint. I mean, get out of here. That's how ridiculous it was. It was a prohibition the same as alcohol was.
Right.
And once they legalized alcohol, you know, it is what it is. You have some people that can handle it, some people that can't. But it's under compliance. You have to show your ID to show that you're over age, you know, to get it. Same thing with marijuana. I mean, to me, it should be handled the same way they handle beer and wine.
So you are, I'll say you, Ella, and Dan, you might want to weigh in on this as well. You're both cool with tax and regulation of cannabis, yes?
As long as that keeps it legal,
Yeah.
I have no problems with it. I mean,
Right.
because when you look at cities like Denver, their taxes have gone to improving the city.
It has.
And they have lots of cafes and entertainment places. Like Dan and I used to make a lot of trips over to Amsterdam back in the
is
day.
that right?
Yeah.
When that was the only place on the planet
Tell
that
us
was
about
living
it.
civilized.
Love that.
You know, and we would go to
All of a
Amsterdam.
sudden, we weren't criminals, you know.
Right.
Wow.
Dan could
Seriously?
tell you what the
Seriously.
first time we went there, and this was years ago because we've been married. We just celebrated 30 years last month.
Wait, you like this? Hold on.
So, you know, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, for our honeymoon,
Wow.
we went over there. Oh, they applauding us?
Yeah,
One
that
more
was,
time.
that was
Oh,
for
yeah,
30
I did
years.
that.
You like? I'm gonna put that on a flash drive.
I like that. But when we went during our honeymoon period so long ago, and you know it wasn't legal then, but it's up in Amsterdam.
Right.
And we would go over there and partay. I mean, you could go to clubs and bars and coffee shops is what they call them. And they would have the rolling papers right at the bar. And they would bring you a menu with all of the different kinds of marijuana on it, where it came from all over the world. And they would talk to you about it the way they do when you go into the stores now, when they tell you
Right.
all about its
Our
origins.
special here is this today.
And this
Yes,
has, you know, 18% THC, and this one has well, that's what they would do way back then. They were ahead of their time. And they would bring you the menu, and you would pick out which one. And it wasn't expensive. It wasn't even as expensive as it is now.
Really?
And you could
Right.
In
reach
Amsterdam?
up
Yeah.
and
Really?
grab a paper, a leaf that was like, you know how they have the glasses upside down at the bar? They had the papers up
No,
there.
no, they
And you're
didn't.
sitting at the bar,
Just
and you
reach
can
up, grab
grab
your
the
paper,
papers
get
and
the
just
ripper.
roll it at the bar and smoke it. You can order you some wine to go with it or a drink. A lot of the places we went to had juice places going. Some of them didn't even have alcohol. They just had the juice and the cannabis. And you could, and we loved trying to go to all of them. We didn't make it, but we tried. We tried to go to all the coffee shops that was listed in Amsterdam. The Betty Boop.
Yes.
the Rasta
Bulldog.
Baby.
I still have my Bulldog T-shirt.
We still have our Bulldog T-shirts. We went to the Bulldog, had a franchise. So we went to a lot of the several different Bulldogs around town. We also used to be subscribers to High Time magazine.
Oh, really?
And when they had the big cannabis cup in the center for the prizes, we got into a taxi and we had our High Time magazine with us. And we
Take
said,
us there.
take us to this place that got the award
Take
for
me
the
to
best
your
cannabis.
leader.
Yeah.
And he looked at it and he said, oh, sure, I know where that place is. And he drove us right there, and it looked just like the magazine.
Just like the picture in the magazine.
And we went in there, and some guy was at the bar with his son. I'll never forget it. It was so impressive upon us because it was legal over there. And he was at the bar with his son who had just turned 19, 20, whatever the legal age was. And he was having his first, what they called it, sticky, his first joint.
Really?
And he was having it with his father, his first joint and his first drink of alcohol at a bar. That left a big impression on me. You know, they were so civilized about it long before us.
Yeah.
You know, we got
Say
a whole
that.
lot of states
Say
to
that.
catch up with.
Civilized, yeah.
Civilized.
Civilized.
That's
Yeah.
exactly what it was too. Civilized. They didn't treat it as if and what it, let me finish all my sentences. They
By all
didn't treat it as if it was, you know, something disgusting that you have to be arrested for.
Right.
And what it was they didn't have the history of suppression
Yes.
that we have here that caused marijuana to become a class 1 drug
And a felony.
and a
all of
felony,
that.
you know, mirroring the prohibition of alcohol, which again they did not have.
Yeah.
So, you know,
All they did with prohibition was embolden the criminals.
yeah,
Because there's always going to be somebody that wants it. So during the time when it was prohibited for alcohol, you had all the gangsters.
right.
The
That's
Untouchables,
right.
all of them gangsters what were they doing? They were giving people some champagne because that's what people wanted to drink. Some champagne, some beer, some liquor. Finally, they legalized it, and that changed all of that. Same thing with the numbers. Numbers used to be illegal.
That's
Then they
right.
came up with the lottery. The government got in on it, and you know, and that was part of the gangsterism. So then, with marijuana, which should not be in the same thing with hard drugs. You know, it should not be in the same. It's like you have soft liquor, we have hard liquor. We got soft drugs, hard drugs.
yes.
You know, I'm not into the hard drug. And the other thing is to dispel the myth that, you know, the lie that they've told for years is that marijuana is a gateway drug into harder drugs. Look at them.
All
You
right.
know,
Yes,
some of them
right.
people you got up there, I actually smoked a joint with.
All right.
Get out of here.
Is that right?
Okay? You
So,
know, and they cool.
I want to talk about the whole gateway concept as it relates to cannabis. And
It's a lie.
as
It really is.
As I mentioned earlier on in the
I don't
show.
do cocaine.
Right.
I don't do heroin.
Go ahead.
Well, as I mentioned earlier on in the show, we talked to quite a few members of law enforcement against prohibition is what they started as. They were a nonprofit organization, and they're now known as Law Enforcement Action Partnership. And I want to thank them, Peter Christ, and all of the great men and women of that organization. So let me tell you who Law Enforcement Action Partnership is. They are a group of cops, lawyers, judges, people I mentioned a few minutes ago. They were at the tip of the spear of the drug war, and they came together with an organization and decided that we don't want to legislate your drug use curbside while you're in your car, intoxicated off of whatever. That's something that we're not trained for. And through that conversation and discussion, I heard and learned so many things about the whole drug war. But most importantly, and this is why I bring this up, when we talk about cannabis, which has been demonized as a gateway drug, one of the things one of the members of LEAP said on air with us is that the only reason cannabis has been stereotyped as a gateway drug is because of its prohibition and the fact that through prohibition, they force people out to the street corners to buy from drug dealers who didn't just sell a nickel dime of weed, a nickel bag of weed or a dime of weed. They were selling coke and everything else, and it was whatever they had that they would sell. So as it turned out, people would come out and say, hey, I want to buy some cannabis, and the drug dealer may not have it. It's not this simple. Don't get me wrong. But hey, want some coke? Have some weed. I'm your pusher man.
Have some weed.
Right,
I'm your pusher
right.
man.
This is what made, this is what stigmatized, in my belief, cannabis as a gateway drug, because I know, we all know, and the millions of people who have listened to this show know, if you like cannabis, it's very unlikely you're going to become a cokehead. That really pretty much doesn't quite move in that direction.
Really?
No.
Cannabis is a medicine. Cocaine, unfortunately, is too, but it doesn't need all of the chemical processing that is involved with making poppy into medicine. Whereas cannabis, you could stick a simple seed in the ground and be irie.
And quite honestly, people who are high off of marijuana and people who are intoxicated, that's two different kind of bunches of people.
That's right.
And there's no getting around that. You get a bunch of people in the room getting high, 9 times out of 10, everybody's cool. They talking about some great conversation. They might be laughing and giggling. They're really cool people. Now, you get in a room full of drunk people. Everybody got real tight, and now they want to start a fight.
I'm talking about drunk people. I'm
Everybody
talking about my
wanna fight.
relatives.
Okay? Drunk people are the ones
Get
that
together
want
on
to get
Thanksgiving
violent.
and do some
Cannabis
drinking.
smoking people don't usually want to get violent.
That's right.
No.
You know, usually if I've had a bad day and feeling kind of aggressive, and I'm gonna join.
Well, Miss Joy, let's
Nah,
talk.
you know
Miss
that,
Joyce, let's
that
talk about when
aggression
you
I was
feeling kind of
feeling
aggressive. All right.
kind of chills me out a little bit.
Coming off the set of Set It Off, did you feel that?
Feel aggressive?
Yeah.
Yeah, they had to. They trained
Wow.
me to be aggressive. They
That's
trained
right.
me to be a cop because I'm not a cop. You know, I was playing a part. And so there was an officer that was on the set every day, which I requested, to show me how to properly handle the gun, how to properly handle my body English. My husband helped me at home because I didn't want to run like a girl. I didn't want to look like a girl trying to be a cop. I wanted to look like a cop. And so they helped me with that, you know, and hopefully people believed what they saw. You know, I got a lot of people tell me they couldn't stand me on Set It Off, but
That
you
means
know,
you were totally believable.
I was the LAPD,
That's
and
right.
they was going around robbing banks and blowing people's heads off. So, you know, whose side was I on really?
All right. So let's get back to the idea of how cannabis affects a group of people, because I remember as a kid, and I'm going to bring my good friend Donnie G from Philly on with us to talk about this, us being both from Philadelphia. Don, I got a little tone popping in the background, so if you got some notices popping off, let me know. I don't think that's me. But anyway, Don and I are from Philadelphia, and we are very familiar with that part of the Fresh Prince and Jazzy Jeff's video, Summertime, when you go to the plateau. You feel me? And I remember as a kid going to the Belmont Plateau in Philadelphia. And when I say kid, I'm talking about my early mid-teens. And I was smoking cannabis then. And I remember, you know, walking out to the plateau, the Belmont Plateau, and seeing a sea of people so completely diverse and racially mixed, all having blankets and smiling and passing J's amongst themselves.
Yeah.
And Don, I know you are familiar with this. Donnie G, welcome to the show. Rousing round of applause for you as well. Let's talk a little bit about your experience in those days out there on the plateau, man, when everybody got together and smoked some weed, and it was all good, as opposed to last Thanksgiving when, your uncles and cousins and them was fighting and cussing each other out.
Well, first of all, I just wanted to know, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, I want to apologize before because I have to be quite honest. I'm starstruck right now.
Okay.
So,
That's
so,
all right.
you'll have to forgive me. Two of my favorite actors are in front of me on my left screen,
Yes,
and
sir.
I'm actually interacting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I apologize. I humbly apologize. Hi guys, it's so nice to be here with you. It's such an honor and a pleasure for me to be conversing with you on this topic or any topic. So it's a pleasure to be here with you.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
It's wonderful
Thank
to
you
be here
very
with you
much.
guys tonight. Normally on Friday night, I have a dance exercise class that I teach called Funkicize. And I'm shooting a project right now, so I had to cancel the class. Karr Ikkor had been trying to get me here forever, but you guys do this at the same time that I do my Friday night class. So since I had to cancel the class tonight for my shooting schedule, I told Rocky I could make it here tonight, and Dan was available too. And we have been trying to get here like forever. So, but if you want to know about my Funkicize class, just go to my website, ellajoyce.com, or you can go to funkicize.com. And it's every Friday at 8 p.m. for 1 hour. I teach all the dances from the 60s and 70s to the music from the 60s and 70s. So we be having a ball.
A
We
blast.
be doing the
I've
boogaloo,
seen it. We're
the
gonna be playing some
shang-a-lang,
stuff.
the four corners,
Yeah,
the
man.
mashed potatoes. And that's every Friday.
Wow.
Now, I'm down for the month because I'm shooting a new project. We'll be back in August, and you can follow my website.
What you working on, Miss Joyce?
I'm working on a project that I can't speak too
I
much
was about
about
to
it just
say.
yet because
Yeah,
it
that's all right.
hasn't launched. But it's basically an episodic, and I'm in 5 episodes. And once we premiere, I'll let you guys know so you can shoot it out there.
All right, very good. And Don, I got to say, he's very modest, but he is in fact a junior of a legendary police officer and law enforcement agent in Philadelphia named Don Gravatt Sr. Okay, that's his son. That's Don Gravatt Jr. right there on the screen. Yeah.
Okay.
And Don Gravatt Sr. was not only deputy police commissioner in Philadelphia, he was also vice president of security for Temple University. And I had the pleasure of having met his dad, and what a great man he is still. Although he has transitioned and is going to meet Don on that good get-up day. But I just want to give your father a rousing round of applause as well, man, because a legendary black man
Yeah.
in law enforcement. That said, Don's got quite a bit of experience in Philadelphia when it comes down to cannabis. I hope he doesn't mind me sharing with you that we would go down into areas that used to be called the Badlands, that is completely gentrified now. I think so, Don, right? It used to be called the Badlands, and we'd go down there and buy like a
I'll be
nickel bag
honest
of
with
weed.
you, Rick, and your audience and your esteemed guest. I don't know what the hell you're talking about.
I think they call that plausible deniability, Don, but that's okay.
I can neither confirm nor deny.
That's all right. It's okay.
No, you're absolutely correct. And, you know, the fact, I'm sorry that my audio was messed up earlier because how Ella so eloquent and Dan so eloquently put it, you know, we're not doing anything wrong. This has
Right.
been vilified and we've been demonized by reefer madness and a ploy of propaganda in order to attain money, which is the greed that in order to have gain, because people are being set up. You and I and everyone listening knows that you can't legislate morality to me and tell me that you're making marijuana illegal because you care about the public when you're going to sell tobacco, alcohol, and opioids
That part.
at the same time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can't, and I please forgive my language, but I'm so incensed about this whole thing that you can't piss on my leg and tell me that it is
It's
raining,
right?
because rain's not that warm.
Hilarious. That said, Don, you and Dan had quite an interesting conversation about what's going on in Pennsylvania. I mentioned it earlier on in the show. We're going to push through the break and keep talking about this because I'm very interested. And you and I have been talking about this for several weeks now, and I'm glad we reconnected to talk about it. What is going on in Pennsylvania as it relates to the cannabis industry and safe and legal access to both cannabis that's THC-based, and I know you work with CBDs, and I want to talk a little bit about that more as well, because there are not a lot of people out here, well, let's just say there are a lot of people out here, I should rephrase that. There are a lot of people out here who can avail themselves of the medicine of cannabis, but don't necessarily want to be high. But let's talk about what's happening in Pennsylvania right now legally.
Well, you're talking about the same plant minus the THC, the component, the psychoactive component. Now, here's the aspect that we're dealing with. It's actually a veneer. I am a Pennsylvania medical marijuana patient myself. Got the card, the whole deal. So I use everything, CBD, THC, both plants, the hemp plant as well as the cannabis plant that is THC prevalent. So because of that,
You smoke weed. Let's just make it simple. You smoke weed.
Actually, that's the veneer of which I speak, because in Pennsylvania, as a legal consumer of cannabis, I'm not allowed to smoke it. I'm only allowed to vaporize it, use it in tincture form, patch form, or a few, but it has to be vaporized. It can't be combusted.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that ridiculous? That's like telling everybody how they have to drink Jack Daniels.
Yeah, you can. You
know,
Can't have it with ice.
It's got to be in a shot glass, or it's got to have a bit of backup.
Yeah, you can't swig it from the bottle.
You can't swig it this way.
Right.
That is just so ridiculous. And no one that smokes marijuana does the kind of things that people that are drunk on Jack Daniels and tequila and vodka
or cocaine
and cocaine or even
heroin.
opioids. I mean, people don't do the same kinds of things. They don't have the same kind of energy. So it's just so ridiculous to hear all of that. It really is.
So, Dan, I know you were.
I hate to interject, but I have to comment on what Ella just said, because I say that to so many people on a daily basis in terms of clients that come to see me regarding, let's talk about what we all socially observe in terms of behavior of individuals after they partake of a certain substance.
Right.
We all know that when alcohol is consumed, people are more violent. There's a propensity for violence.
There's a reason why they call it ignorant oil.
Yes.
People get ignorant.
Absolutely. And just as you stated earlier, the consumption of cannabis usually chills, not usually, always.
Chills you right out.
Chills people out and has us relating to one another, having great conversations.
Yeah.
That third eye is seeing things and bringing things to light, and we're able to get together and talk about things in a meaningful way.
Yeah.
I remember one time way back, there was this documentary news thing. It was strongly supposed to be anti-marijuana. So they had the camera, excuse me, on this crowd at Point Park in Pittsburgh. And you saw a bunch of kids that were out there. They were like late teens, early 20s, and, playing guitars and doing little hippie stuff and just being happy. And passing joints around, and the camera's going over them, and the guy with the mic is talking about, do you see this? Do you see this action going on here? And
all of this fun being had, and all this calmness,
all this happiness.
And he was trying so hard to make this look like some kind of debased, degenerate, evil, depraved, all this. And I'm looking at it on TV, and I'm thinking to myself,
and yet
it looks cool to me.
Go a block down to the bar where everybody's drinking, and you got folks outside wanting to jack each other up, hollering at each other, wanting to knife and shoot each other.
That's right.
Baby's from Detroit.
Okay. That's what they do when they get too drunk.
Yeah, that's how they have it.
Folks want to act up.
Point Park in Pittsburgh, we sit around with guitar.
But the ones that smoke weed aren't like that.
No, they are.
Right. You know, now when people, like, it take Richard Pryor to talk about when people get high on coke. You know, people get high on coke, they foolish too. Because they be thinking that they know everything, and they be talking on the subject. Yeah, I just know everything. Yeah, I just be talking about everything. Don't be making any sense. That's cocaine. So they need to have some legality on drugs like that. But marijuana is a soft intoxicant. It's a soft high. And I can't stand the fact that they always act like, you know, the whole thing between the CBDs and the THC, like there's something wrong with getting high from the THC. You know, now if somebody wants to just do the CBD, I've done the CBDs before, and because they help with pain. Like I said, I'm a dancer. I'm always injuring something, so something's always sore. So sometimes I'll spray the CBD, and it really helps to, like, relax a back spasm or a toe spasm, something like that, and it helps you to relax. But the THC, there's nothing wrong with that. That actually kind of expands your mind a little bit. You know, when I'm sitting and wanting to write, I get real creative, you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it's you know, and I can actually handle somebody maybe insulting me a little easier when I'm high. I don't necessarily want to turn around and backhand slap them. You know, I smoke a joint.
Because we know that Ella Joyce will smack.
Right, I'll smack you. But, you know, that's, if I had a joint, I might just forget about it. Just forget about it.
Right.
You know, I'll let you go this
Absolutely.
time.
Absolutely.
People get drunk, they want to grab a bottle and hit somebody over the head with it. And how many times have we seen that?
I'm not going to break my pipe already. But
Okay, people don't pick up their pipe and want to, you know, slap you with the joint, you know.
Like, man, you just break my pipe?
People don't get violent on marijuana.
I
think the whole world needs to smoke some weed or grass, whatever
Relax
you call it
bit,
back
right?
in the day. Get up and dance to some old music from the 60s and 70s, and let's just party. Let's party our life away.
1999.
Okay, let's stop trying to look for reasons to hurt other people and do bombs and stop people from enjoying themselves. Marijuana is just something for people to enjoy themselves. I don't even know mean people who smoke weed. I don't.
Well,
I know some mean people who love tequila and Jack Daniels and Cavassier. I know some mean people like that started belting it back. But I don't know any mean people that smoke weed. People that smoke weed are usually pretty cool, you know. Now, if you're into the hard drugs, you're going to be into the hard drugs anyway. Marijuana ain't got nothing to do with it.
That's right.
You know, that's just, you know, I'm going to smoke a joint on top of the heroin and the cocaine and all that. But you was going to do that anyway. But those of us who are cool and like to have a little toke every now and then, you know, we're not depraved people. We're not out there starting fights. You know, we just chilling. So I really don't understand it. It almost seems like it was against the law so folks could have a reason to put the black folks in jail and let the white folks walk away with a slap on the wrist. Now, I'm telling you that. I'm telling you that's what it is. I've been around the block a few times, okay? One time, you know, long time ago, I noticed it was always different when I was hanging out with my white friends. than when I'm hanging out with the black folks. You hanging out with the white friends, and you know, you might be 19, 20, you still out there partying, still a hippie and everything. But if the police stop you, they don't bother you if you got your white friends with you. If you have a whole car full of black folk, everybody gonna go to jail. Everybody going to jail. Everybody gonna get it. Don't matter if you in college, if whatever you doing. And it seemed like that's why it was illegal as long as it was, and it was vilified.
Wait, before you launch into that, let's take a break. My esteemed colleague has just arrived, and we need to get him on the mic and the camera. So, ladies and gentlemen, you're tuned in to a most invigorating session of the Marijualogist, the world's only show that explores the global impact of cannabis. Your humble host, Richard Karr, Donnie Gravatt, Donnie G from Philly, via Skype, Ella Joyce Dan Martin live in the studio, and wait, there's more. We've got our good friend and my esteemed colleague joining us next on the mic. Ikkor the Wolf has just arrived. Don't go away. More Marijualogists coming straight ahead. We'll be right back. Enjoy yourself and tell a friend.
What up, though? This is your man, Ikkor the Wolf, host of the Marijualogist, inviting you to tune in every Friday, 4:20 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on the Vibration Frequency Network at vibrationfrequency.com. This is where we cover the global impact and efficacy of cannabis. That's the Marijualogist on the Vibration Frequency Network every Friday, 4:20 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. See you there. What up, though? This is Karr Ikkor the Wolf, host of the Wolf's Den. Tune in every first Friday of the month, 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on the Vibration Frequency Network at vibrationfrequency.com.
You're tuned in to Vibration Frequency, vibrationfrequency.com. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Vibration Frequency. Feel the vibe.
DJ Lawrence.
Job Mind. We'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen. Right now, coming straight ahead, tonight's live cannabis-infused musical moment, sponsored by Green Crosses. This is the Marijualogist. Don't go away and enjoy the sound. We'll be right back.
Inna the mud, me a pick and lay bother me and load them down in a tub. Hey. One by one, load up the fan, all of the ganja it ram. Put it on a plane, go we gonna Spain. Money just a pour like rain. Me just a muggle up the lane in a rope gold chain. Hey, me and me girl named Jane. Bang get it, men, den, better men a coin, better men, den, get a coin. Dang, did it, dang, get it, men, den, get a men, den, get a men, den, get a men, den, get a men, den. Down there in the ghetto I go, where sufferation I once know. Mommy and daddy, all are we so poor. We all had to sleep on the floor. Storm it come and it blow down me door. Me have to nail up me window. Me shoes tear up, me toe that show. Me no know where fi really run go. Mommy does a ball, poor. Me cry, she say don't cry no more. Dang, diddy, dang, diddy, men, den. Ben a mo coins, then a men, den, get a mo coin. Dang, diddy, dang, get a men, den, ben a coin, get a men, den, get a coin, get a men. a pick and just smuggling. Inna the mud me a pick and the butter me a load them down in a tub. One by one, load up the van, all of the ganja it ram. Put it on the plane, going gonna Spain. Money just a pour like rain. Me just a muggle up the lane in a gold rope chain. Hey, me and me girl named Jane. Dang dang diddy bang bang, giddy bang bang, giddy men, men a coin, den get a men. Bang bang, giddy bang bang, giddy bang bang, giddy men, men a coin, gang get a men. Down there in the ghetto I go, where tribulation I once know. Mommy and daddy, all are we so poor. We all had to sleep on the floor. Hey. Time it come and it blow down me door. Me happy nail up me window. Me shoes tear up, me toe dust a show. Me no know how if we really run go. Mama tell me no rob broke store. Police beat you, make your back sore. Hey. Dang dang diddy dang dang, giddy bang bang, giddy men. Better boy, better be the better. Hey.
Yeah, DJ Lawrence, France, I don't know, pick up yourself, brother. Boom, DJ Lawrence, listen this. More herbs, you know. Why them a fight it? Tell me why them a fight it? High grade, no for them no like it, no like it. Give me more herbs, give me more herbs. High grade, and that we a burn, no one no coke, no crack. High grade. Allow me brethren, them want a draw off of that. High grade. And that we a burn, no want no coke, no crack. High grade. But I slip on the whole place like, hey, high grade is good for me. I rise up in the morning and I burn a tree. It open up my eyes so clear to see. It make I think intelligently. I love high grade like the food I eat. I love it so much because it tastes so sweet. You can smell it in the wind that blow. So come farmer man, make more trees grow. I say high grade. And that we are burning, no one no quote, no crack. High grade. Allow me brethren, them want a draw off of that. High grade. And that we are burning, no one no quote, no crack. High grade. Gonna flip on the whole place lock. Hey, me like me chalice for Babylon, them no like it. Screw me, see them a screw. And when me leg of the smoke all up in the air, tell me what the hell you gonna do? Because we burn it in the morning and we burn it in the evening and in the night time too. It's recommended by the doctors, scientists and liars. Now I recommend it to you. I said high grade. And that we just smoking, I want no coke, no crack. High grade. Allow me brethren, them want a draw off of that. High grade. And that we just smoking, I want no coke, no crack. High grade. Gonna flip on the whole place lock. Hey, high grade is good for me. I rise up in the morning and I burn a tree. It open up my eyes so clear to see. It make I think constructively. I love high grade like the food I eat. I love it so much because it tastes so sweet. You can feel it in the wind that blow. Come farmer man, make more trees grow. High grade. And that we are burning, no one no quote, no crack. High grade. Allow me brethren, them want a draw off of that. High grade. And that we are burning, no one no quote, no crack. High grade. We burn a spliff on the whole place lock. Hey, it's good for my meditation. Doctors use it for medication. It gives the inspiration. Burn high grade in any situation. When I'm feeling down and low, we're gonna high grade and you may even know. Come down, mama, make me know. Yes, I'm saying about you all the way from Jamaica, German, John. DJ Laris, king for the thing, king for the thing. You
know we got the music swinging from morning till night. Come on, it's real champion sound. Ash Babal.
Yeah, you know. Sing it. Mark Wanda. Yeah. Ganja Ting. Alta Fan. Alright, yeah. Yeah, again. Check it out, yo. Who's got the highest come on viola made?
Down in Jamaica around the western end.
Since we are smoke, we don't wanna crack in a way.
Raising up with chalice till we eyes turn
again, me sing, who's got the highest come on viola made?
Down in Jamaica around the western end.
Since we are smoke, we don't wanna crack in a way.
Raising up the chalice till we eyes turn red. See your aim, you know your plan. On a mission to destroy the plantation. But if you kill the seeds, we can supply the needs. One time me are telling us the healing is a choice.
Them they want to see the ganja farmer feeding family. Tell them set the weed can free up the economy. International because you know we have the quality. Tell them since you have it free, it's an atrocity. What me say? Who's got the highest come I want to hold on me?
Down in Jamaica around the western end.
Since we are smoke, we don't wanna crack in our way.
Raising up with chalice till we eyes turn red.
Yeah, who's got the highest come I want to hold on me?
Down in Jamaica around the western end.
Yes, yo, since we are smoke, we don't wanna crack in our way.
Raising up with chalice till we eyes turn red.
It's amount of plantation, lay up on the land. We supply the whole of them right through the nation. The cure the cataract and the cancer patient. Africa, this little island, the ganja station.
Chalice we blazing, Rasta we hailing. Highest of hearts and meditation. I and I no need the substitution.
How you mean? Yo.
Well.
Who's got the highest come I want the whole of me?
Down in Jamaica around the western end.
Since we are smoke, we don't wanna crack in our way.
Raising up the chalice to the eyes.
Alright again, who's got the highest come I want the whole of me?
Down in Jamaica around the western end.
Since we are smoke, we don't wanna crack in our way.
Raising up the chalice to the eyes turn red. See your aim, know your plan. On a mission to destroy the plantation. But if you kill the seeds, we can supply the needs. Long time me I tell them it's the healing is a choice.
Them no want to see the ganja farmer feeding family. Tell them say the weed can free up the economy. International because you know we have the quality. Tell them since you have to free, it's an atrocity. What me say? Who's got the highest come I want the whole of me?
Down in Jamaica around the western end.
Since we are smoke, we don't wanna crack in our way.
Raising up the chalice to the eyes.
Alright again, who's got the highest come I want the whole of me?
Down in Jamaica around the western end.
Since we are smoke, we don't wanna crack in our way.
Raising up the chalice to the eyes.
Who's got the highest come I want the whole of me?
Down in Jamaica around the western end.
Since we are smoke, we don't wanna crack in our way.
Raising up the chalice to the eyes.
Again, who's got the highest come I want the whole of me?
Down in Jamaica around the western end.
Since we are smoke, we don't wanna crack in our way.
Raising up the chalice to the eyes are burning. Red. I suppose meditation.
Yes. Yo, all the way from Jamaica, DJ Laris, king for the thing. You know we got the music swinging from morning till night. Come on, it's real champion sound. Ash Babal.
Someone smoke in the room, the queen talk in the room. To the pope in the room. I never got to high school, I went to school, still dirty Babylon can't fool, I got a little thing I gotta testify. It's a true confession that I keep on smoking marijuana. Blaze with chalice on the corner. It's not full up like the skill of marijuana. Babylon do I know. I've been marijuana. Blaze with chalice on the corner. It's not full up like the skill of marijuana. Police boy, them around. Digitalis, I make it bun. Digitalis, I make it bun. Digitalis, I make it bun.
Can you hear me there?
This is Alisa, make it van. Kind herbalist gestures. Tell them this is mine, okay, that's a yes. This script is for East, and that is for us. Firemundo, police officers. It's used by the nurse and by the doctors. Solve the problem and clear up the factors. Hey, farmer man, drive out the tractors. And plant up 1,000 more acres. Real marijuana. Where's the Charlie Spandigan? He's a full of like the skin of marijuana. Babylon boy, you run. That marijuana. Where's the Charlie Spandigan? He's a full of like the skin of marijuana. Police boy, them are
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to tonight's live episode of the world's only show that gets to the root of the medical cannabis movement. This is the one and only the Marijualogist. Indeed, I am your humble host and moderator for tonight, as always. I am Richard Karr. But in the meantime, and in between time, we finally have the arrival sin of the one and only Ikkor the Wolf.
What up, though?
Coming in
Detroit,
hot.
stand up.
Coming in hot. Anyway,
Yeah.
welcome back to the show, ladies and gentlemen. Also joining us via Skype, all the way from Philadelphia, IA, my hometown, Mr. Donnie G.
Donnie G.
Our resident CBD expert. Let me give him. Hold on, let me find. Where them little people at? There they go. I had to just send a little shock pulse to their system. We're back on the show. Before we get started and before we swing the mic to my esteemed colleague, Ikkor the Wolf, I thought this question to myself as I took a break during our cannabis-infused musical moment, sponsored by Green Crosses
You dig.
and Tees Apparel. How did you both get so damn lucky to meet each other, Ella and Dan? How in the hell did that happen? I was jealous.
History, man. They got
As-
that history.
Yeah,
We met
man.
each other on stage.
I know you did.
Our director,
Yeah,
Diane
Our
Kirksey.
director
Get in there,
introduced
Dan.
us.
Don't be no rookie.
Yeah,
All right,
it was
there
a
you go.
long time ago. We were doing
What?
a stage reading, and I remember the moment I looked into his beautiful face when she introduced
sweet
me to
talker.
him.
It was funny because I was just coming from another project, and it was like, okay, we're moving. And, you know, New York kids acting, I mean, you're just running and just doing. And then all of a sudden, it was like things just kind of stopped. It was, you know, I was like, oh, I'm going to smile at her. Hey.
Look at that pretty girl
Pretty
there.
good, pretty
Dan.
Detroit girl.
And, you know, we went around, and then we started reading, and I was like, she's pretty good. Okay.
Yeah, she's
Look good and sound good.
Sound
Okay.
good.
my
She's an
goodness.
actress. Girl, can read.
So
And I thought he was a
something
great
out of-
actor. I
It
thought
worked.
He was a great actor. I
You
used to
thought
follow him
you thought he
around and
was,
things
or you
was
think he
doing.
is?
I thought he was a great actor. Yeah, he is. Of
You
course
think he is?
Awesome
Brilliant,
now.
brilliant.
But I'm telling you, at that time, I thought
Right.
he was a great actor.
Right.
And so I used to follow him around at the workshops.
Did you really?
See what he was doing.
That little
Several
handsome
years
fella.
later.
They still blessing.
Yeah, several years later, we were available to start dating. And then it ended up 30 years.
Yo,
30 years,
Yeah.
rousing round of applause. 30 years.
And then where you originally from?
Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh. Come on,
Pittsburgh.
Pennsylvania.
Still a
man, the
nation.
bird, maybe
Still
the bird.
us.
And I want to say
Recognize.
Rocky is my homeboy from Detroit.
Believe me.
And I'm from Detroit. He's from Detroit. That's
Say
why
what?
I'm here.
And we like relatively in the same neighborhood, too,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, West Side.
West Side,
West
Road,
Side.
Grand River.
That's right.
All right.
Illinois and Grand River.
Side.
So we have to take a moment out to acknowledge my esteemed colleague who's been with me for so many years now here putting together this show, and I want to thank him heartily for putting together this specific show with these two legendary actors.
No doubt.
He himself is a legendary actor, hip-hop artist, a man of many trades, my esteemed colleague, my big little brother, Ikkor the Wolf. Finally made it.
Yeah, I was out there on some marijualogist business, and you know, had to be out there on the roving reporter.
You was out there on some marijualology.
On some marijualology.
You
know
on some
what I mean?
marijualology.
So,
Roving reporter.
Had to come back with the information. You know what I mean?
All right,
You got
so
it? You got it?
got
You
it.
got it?
Got the information.
Excellent.
I'm glad you said that because I'd like to know what's going on the streets. And you have your thumb to the pulse of the street and the beat of cannabis in this city. What's going on the streets? How much does a pound cost right now?
Yeah, let's get to that.
Let's get to that.
Well, everybody knows that across
Because it all trickles down.
we have been affected across the country, actually. You know, I've been getting calls from different cities, states, and like, man, it's dry out here. It's dry out here. And I'm like, wow.
Oh, really?
And I'm like, well, you know, it's like a semi-drought. And when I say drought, it was really like a price gouge. And a lot of people are affected by it because the prices are steady going up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's
And
not a
They
drought,
are.
it's a
Yeah.
gouge.
It's a gouge,
Greed.
right? So it's the election time coming up.
Yeah.
A lot of farms been seized, and by those farms being seized, that took away a lot of the product that was circulating throughout, and so prices have went back up because these people had to start back over and regain whatever it was that they had lost.
Yeah.
And so
And weed don't grow overnight.
it don't grow overnight, and it's a process of this, and it's costs
Yeah.
a lot of money to do what they do.
Wait a minute. Say
And so-
what?
So
I thought weed grew when cotton didn't.
Okay.
You're
So,
right about that.
in essence-
it's always a harvest time.
in essence, in the last 3 years, pricing have went down. So, and I like to say teenage numbers because they went down to like the 18s and the 19s. So at that particular time, 1900 was like, wow, man, that's a lot. But that was for some top shelf.
Yeah.
Now top shelf in LA is going at 2,500, 23, 24
For a pound?
For a pound. You know, and what they
That's
call this rapper
ridiculous.
weed, which is these exotic boutique strains now.
Yeah.
Where they, it's colorful stuff. You know, I see it. I see so much of it, and I saw the change. I had to ride with the change because I have clients, and my clients, and if you had clients, your door stopped for a minute, your phone stopped ringing for a minute, or when you tell them these prices, they go somewhere else. And I had some people who thought that I was like crazy.
Yeah.
And when they not knowing that I'm very heavily deep in the circuit of the flower, the whole flower itself and the movement of it, that they had a dispensary level, and they're the ones that called me. And so when I told them these prices and I showed them the product and everything, they like, you need to come with us and let me show you what my people, blah, blah, blah. And I
You
said-
need to
and I
cut
said,
it.
Okay, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, that very same person is calling me, asking me, what do you have for 22, 21? You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Not knowing that, not remembering that just 3 years ago, these prices that we have right now were those prices 3 years ago. Yeah. 3 to 4 years ago were those prices.
I want to get
But
Donnie
people
G.
just get so engrossed and forgot about it because it got so good with the teenage numbers.
I want to get Donnie G on the mic, Ikkor, because he and I had a conversation. Hey, lube your chair, pal.
It could be a Skype.
We had a conversation about the price of cannabis in Philadelphia. Now, as some of our returning viewers might know, Donnie G runs a CBD dispensary in a main stream mall in the Philadelphia area.
What's the name of his store?
Wait, we can't say that.
Oh, can't say it?
We're not going to say it, yeah. Not without money.
We're not that
Shit.
deliberate. We're not that
we're not without money. Come on, Dan. You know how this
Oh,
works.
hey.
Anyway.
John Doe store.
And he sells actually CBD flower, which I think is like near beer. Why drink it?
It's like
I drink for effect, not flavor.
that's
so-
that's diet weed.
Yeah, diet weed. I like it. Okay.
funny.
All right, now, so
Diet
Donnie,
weed.
I want you to not just weigh it on diet weed. Let that be second. First and foremost, when you hear these prices, what do you think when it comes to what's
There
happening in
is.
Philly and or Pennsylvania?
Well, first of all, I think it's outrageous because that's the reason my chair is squeaking because the money I usually spend to lubricate my chair, now extra on cannabis. So it's rough. It's rough for
It's
everyone.
rough.
It's rough all the way around.
What a life, huh? What a life.
So yeah, but no, speaking to that, first of all, I have to say, I don't know if this is a rumor, but I have to give a shout out to my man Ikkor the Wolf. First of all right.
What up, though?
You went.
Was it someone's birthday recently?
Yes, it was.
Well, I have to give you a happy and loving happy birthday to you, my brother.
Thank you very much, brother. I appreciate that. All the way from 3,000 miles away. I dig it.
You know you're appreciated from coast to coast, brother. So
Yes,
don't.
You know, these two lovely people were at my birthday party as well.
Yeah.
Oh wow! I really wish I could have been there. But I'm trying to get out.
Rocky know how to throw a party.
Don't he though?
Secondly, Ella said something that was very profound earlier that I wanted to echo, which was that if the world smoked marijuana, there would be no war. And that's real.
Say that
That's
again.
a fact.
Say that again. Say that
Say it
again, Don.
You got blacked
We
out
need-
there.
I said Ella said something that was very profound,
Okay.
which was that if the world smoked marijuana, there would be no war. And that's absolutely true.
Most definitely. On many levels of war.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. And then she also said something about black people being, in a nutshell, I'm paraphrasing, that black people are basically being persecuted with a law that does not apply across the table for all races.
No doubt.
Right.
So based on that, I have to say that the rights that are being espoused by this government and country do not apply to African Americans. Those amendments,
No doubt.
the First Amendment, Second Amendment, go ahead and carry a rifle if you want to down the street being black and see how that ends for you.
And
Okay.
that's almost like a tacit understanding. You know, they don't talk about it, but we
sure.
all know that that's been the case. I
That's
mean,
correct.
your friends will tell you. Like I said, you know, you with certain friends, and then you're with other friends, and you see the difference
Why
in the
you
treatment.
why do you think
White privilege.
that, exactly? Why do you
White
think
privilege.
that you never saw any of these white officers go down or go to prison for killing any of the black souls that they've killed? In our
It's
country?
always justified.
It's a law for that.
Justified,
It's a law for
yeah.
that because we weren't considered
Yeah.
citizens in the United States of America.
You know,
So it didn't apply to us.
Well, there's that part, but also, I'm sorry, I have to say there is black privilege. And I'm sitting at it right now.
Black
It is my
No,
privilege
we create our own privilege.
to welcome you to this show. So there is
Okay.
black privilege.
So
When
I
are we
have
going to claim
say-
it? When are we
I
going to
have
claim
to
our
say-
black
I have to
privilege?
say-
And wait, before you say, there is a privileged young man right there on the screen. His father, his legacy, both senior and junior, are legendary in Philadelphia. So let's not, constantly claim victimization when it comes to that. And I know that's
No
not what you
doubt.
guys are saying on the panel either.
Okay.
So,
okay,
but I
here's-
want to say there is black privilege, and we're living in it right this very second.
Yes.
But all of us
and-
black men have
and
also
here's-
dealt with that other
here's what-
side too since we've been living.
Well, wait a minute. So hold on, Ikkor first.
And there's not one black man I don't believe in society, especially in our generations and above us, who have not dealt with some form of brutality, racism, or being touched on by an officer.
Well, that's a fight to me, so I don't know what you're talking about. That's
So-
just a straight up knock down.
No, but you're alive still, so you ain't fight the cops.
That's what I mean. Come on, I'm still here.
Let me-
Like I've never seen a cop because I'm light skinned. I don't know what you're saying. I mean,
No, you didn't fight 'em.
I'm joking. My point is that we have black privilege too.
No doubt.
And I think Charlemagne the God, shouts to the kid up in New York, made a good point in his book that he titled Black Privilege. And I've listened to some of his diatribe, and I'm both impressed and influenced by the fact that a man younger than me, not knowing what it was like for my father, my uncles, and me, because he's younger, I mean, I think we got some grown folks in the studio tonight and the audience as well. We have black privilege, bro. There is black privilege, and we should own it. That's all I'm saying.
But it's,
Okay.
but it's,
Back
at,
to
a
you on the
but it's
panel.
at a certain level, though.
You
It's at a
let me
certain
know
level.
when
It's
I,
not a
because
societal
I
I'm
mean,
level.
where are
changing
you
the bit
speaking
here.
of it from?
It's-
Black
it's-
privilege
it's-
with what?
I would
mean,
say just only
black people
within
that got a
us.
whole lot of money. Yeah, they got a whole
Right,
lot
they-
of privilege.
Right, they
No,
got privilege to
no.
do things, but they have privilege to do
So-
things in
so
So you
society.
talking about
All right,
black
hold on.
privilege from what
Hold on.
perspective? I
All right.
mean, from
I'll
getting
speak to that.
arrested.
I'll
from-
speak to that, but I want to
Yeah.
get Don involved as well. in
Because
this
your black
conversation.
money ain't going to measure up to the next white man's money when they say, okay, we're going to choose for privilege. Who you think going to get that privilege?
All right, so when it comes to cannabis, we know we have social equity that's in evolution. So we know that we're going to get preferred for the first time in our lives for being black to get into the cannabis business. Are we not? I think that's the case. Don, you're chomping at the bit. Tell me something about that.
If I can get this in, trust me, it's going to be quite
Provocative.
It's going to put some static on the radio.
Uh-oh.
All right. First of all, Rick, at the end part, I'll address the so-called black privilege that you're referencing. First and foremost, I want to talk about the paradigm or the dichotomy that I have to deal with as the son of the first black or African American
Say that.
deputy police commissioner of a major city on the East Coast, as well as the first African American vice president of Temple University.
Thank you.
That being said, my father was charged with making sure that George W. Bush Sr. and Ronald Reagan, when they came to town, he was guarding them and was in charge of the entire security detail. That being said, he told me when he came home, I don't want you to smoke weed on the street corner with your friends. You can smoke it in the house.
Okay.
Okay, so on one hand, there's the love I have for my father, innate from a genetic standpoint, him being my biological father. But there's also, now that I'm older, I have to divide that, because the reality is he worked for the enemy. And that same enemy is the enemy that's telling you that you can't be free to smoke God's plant. So there's a lot of contradiction there. There's a lot of hyperbole, and his answer to me when I questioned him on it one day was, son, I'm trying to change it from the inside out.
Don,
Okay, that's it.
Don,
Ikkor.
when was the first time that you really started smoking cannabis, so like on a regular basis, not just like testing it and, months go by, years go by, like when you really just said, I'm going in?
11,
Oh, he's a pilot, trust me.
11 years old.
11 years old, wow. When you started buying bags, when you was about what, 13, 14?
Yeah, those big manila envelopes for $5 that you could get 20 J's out of.
Exactly, right.
My husband and I were talking the other day about, we were reminiscing about the lids we used to buy. You
Big
know,
fingers.
in college.
Big finger.
You know,
In a plastic
nowadays
bag.
they got grams and
Right.
and all
Now
these
it's
little
grams.
measurements. But if it was 3-finger bag, that's what
That's
you
it.
would purchase.
For a dime, huh?
For a dime,
So even though I am known as the CBD expert from the East Coast, I'm also a THC expert. So it's a situation for me where I have to tell people, this is a plant. If you believe in a higher power, if you believe in God, and if you know how vast the universe is and the likelihood of other life is profound, that there is other life in the universe. And God may be very busy with other planets, and he may have said, I don't have time to babysit y'all. I got other people to look after too. So I'm going to leave the plant here, the things that are necessary for you to sustain yourself.
McGuine leave you some ganja, huh?
Why?
McGuine leave you some
Why?
ganja.
I'm going to leave the little natural flower that you don't have to do nothing to it. Like Cat Williams said, you ain't got to do nothing to it. And if you should just so happen to set it on fire, okay, then wonderful things will happen for you. So I'm a staunch proponent, and I'm seeing small incremental steps towards freedom. But like any slave, I have to say it's not enough until I'm free, because I know why the caged bird sings. And so it's real for me, and we're all doing it. We're all enjoying it, and we got to keep doing what we're doing and stop the divisiveness of Republican versus Democrat, white against black, fat against skinny, gay against straight, whatever it is. Let's everyone come together as a human entity and demand our human right.
We are one. Where that song at? We are one.
And it's funny, that's the way we felt those years we were going to Amsterdam.
And
that's how they were over there.
That's the way we felt too. Like I said, those kids sitting out there in that park.
Yeah.
There was concentrated movement of bringing the races and bringing people together. And that really stopped with the rise of Ronald Reagan. Yeah. I mean, it was like we were integrating, we were getting together, things were going better, we were making inroads, and then all of a sudden
somebody
we hit
don't want it right.
Reagan,
somebody
and it
don't
was
want it
boom.
Right. How can people just not want it right?
Reagan was the rise of the right wing, what you call
and the rise of crack and cocaine.
Believe that.
That
came
Say that.
You know, I mean, it just kind of absorbed. You know, poor marijuana had to take a side step.
Take a back seat.
Divide and conquer. That's what I was trying to get out, because what he did was he brought in this idea of separating us from our friends and allies by emphasizing to them, hey, at least you're white. You might be broke. You might not have this going on. You might not have that going on. But you're white.
But you're white.
So
okay.
I want to jump in real quick and say that I know I got everybody kind of riled up when I said that we have black privilege, and I think
what y'all think?
We've somewhat skirted the issue, and I want to bring everyone back to the question of black privilege. I think I have some. I think I'm experiencing it right now.
But you have to
am I wrong?
That's
am I living a fantasy?
When I hear you say that, but I just look at it as a compartmentalized
experience.
Yeah, it's a compartmentalized privilege, because you can come from a family that has some money in society, right?
Mine
or
did
you can
not.
come from some family, or you can come from a family, a black family, I should say, a black family
Mine
in
did
society,
not, and I am black,
that have some connections of knowing people. Might not have money, right? But they say, hey, my boy, I went to elementary school or junior high school that I was cool with. All of a sudden, he's a principal at a school or whatever, and I can get you in there. You know, and I mean, that's a privilege. That's a black privilege within us.
There are certain privileges that people have based on their individual position.
That's what I'm saying.
Whether it's a money privilege,
that's all connections,
or a social conscious privilege by your thinking, your actions motivate, those reactions to you. By staying out of trouble, you have a certain privilege in society.
Exactly.
So what you're saying in terms of black privilege, we're
not catching
those
cases
about.
Well, damn. What am I saying?
Yeah, what are you?
What am I saying?
We're not doing the fake scholarships, getting in college, off the fake scholarship. You know what I mean? Like that. What's the actor's name?
But that's not privilege. That's cheating.
But they use their privilege.
Here's the thing that I got to inject is this. First of all, the next candidate for Democrat that's going to be the guy running for president against Donald Trump. Here's the deal, okay? That person better be running on reparations. I better hear that first, or you're not getting my vote. Secondly, legalization or decriminalization across the board for marijuana, or you're not getting my vote. Secondly, I don't believe in anybody's black privilege.
Wow.
Because what is that privilege availing you?
What is it
specifically? That it does not that it does not avail.
See, it depends on if you're talking about society privilege.
Right. So
That's
so
a specific type of privilege. We have all different types
Those are
of
compartments.
privilege.
if I could
You
speak
know,
to that,
so what privilege are you specifically addressing?
if I
you
could
know?
speak to that,
Because
Yeah.
we were brought here against our will.
okay. So if I can, I'll speak to that.
Go ahead.
This is what cannabis do.
I am, as I like to call myself, and
Like-
please, no one judge me.
Light skin.
No. No.
Well, then, damn, I must be what?
Don, you dark
No.
skin. Don,
Hold
dark
on,
skin.
hold on. I am, as I like to think, as free as I want to be. And again, I like to think of myself, and please don't judge me,
I'm judging.
as a regular schmo from Philly. And without making light of it, to think that I have the power that we are experiencing right now in my hands and in the hands of everyone who's a part of this show to create content and express myself. Now, maybe because I'm in the room with such greats, and Don, thank you for that audition, and I will be sure to share your number with both Dan and Ella if they need you to fly out to be that dude.
And I'm completely available.
Yeah, and trust me, Dan, Ella, he was auditioning. However, I have the unique experience of being in the room with two, in fact, three legendary actors, performers, and entertainers. So for y'all, it might not be the privilege, because I got to keep it real with you. I ain't the privilege. I'm not. I will enjoy the privilege, and I will take the privilege. However, if this is not privilege to me, and my homeboy's sitting there on that camera, let me pull you up real quick. If he was here right now, you know, y'all made him nervous just on screen.
You know, I think I think you're conflating a
Did I make my point?
personal privilege. Yeah,
Wait.
I think you did. You're conflating a personal privilege with black privilege.
That's what I'm saying.
It's not necessarily the same thing.
It's not the same thing.
Lean into your mic and say that.
Okay,
It's not the same thing.
Yeah, it's not the same thing. It's a black privilege.
So,
you know.
well, let's talk about the unified black privilege then, if that's how you're going to come at it. Because the fact of the matter is, even though it is my personal privilege,
Let me see you go to Harvard right
It-
now
it-
and say,
it-
I'm about to
it-
get, son,
it
I'm about to get
is-
you. I'm about to get
it
you. in here."
is.
that's a different privilege.
Wait,
that ain't a black privilege.
It is a
That is
privilege,
not no black privilege.
No.
and not just my own. And I
I
think
think the main thing black privilege that we got is that we can say nigga and they can't.
There, thank you.
Thank you. After that, what is there?
What
well
is that?
stated, Dan, and
Dan,
I
we
call
said.
that black privilege.
That's
and that's
not black
all I
privilege.
was trying to
That's
We got the
identify.
privilege
Give me
of
some
saying-
of that, man.
saying it over and over. Nigga, 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 nigga. And if they kick your ass, you said it right. That's like
Right.
Richard Pryor's
Right.
routine.
So once again, I think there is some black privilege.
Somewhat of a black
Moving
privilege.
on.
That's Paul Mooney. And here's the
Paul
deal.
Mooney, yes.
And tying that into social equity, because I know that's also going on in Pennsylvania right now. Dwight Evans is putting forth a bill to talk to the issue of social equity as it relates to cannabis and, you know, drug enforcement and, you know, the drug war. That's happening here in Los Angeles.
I am a
Right.
soon to be applicant.
So I know that's beginning to take place in Pennsylvania. I know it's going to really have a great impact in Philadelphia. I don't mean to beat the horse. I don't mean to beat a dead horse, but some black privilege is coming, y'all. Some black privilege is coming, but I want to talk about that in
We had it when
Pennsylvania.
Barack was here, but we didn't get it.
You got a boulevard.
We didn't
Knock
get
it off.
But we didn't get it.
You got to.
So I thought I would express
We-
that.
And we have to do something about that. We have to address what we have to address. when we have
I
to
told
address.
Michelle. I said, Michelle,
I have to get Joe Biden off of my.
Bring it on over here, baby.
bring it on over here, baby.
Okay, yeah.
Joe, get off of her, Joe.
All right, but let's talk about legality in Pennsylvania, though. I want to get back to that because we're talking about the fact that CBD is very impactful in Pennsylvania, but they've got some real deep restrictions on the access to THC. We'll set aside the idea of black privilege because there is going to be a set-aside aspect to cannabis and its legalization in this country. And maybe I'm naive and whatever, but I know our time is coming. It's been a long time, but I know.
That's right. That's right. Change is going to come. But here's the thing. I don't have that much time. All right. So here's the reality. We don't have privilege. We have the privilege to get locked up for doing something that everyone else does.
Uh-oh.
That's our privilege, okay? We have the privilege to have soul innately that they don't have, so they got envy, all right? And rhythm, okay? And, just there's so many things I could speak to this, but I just think that my time is limited, so I don't want to be too verbose. But it's inequity. Until that inequity, that playing field, I don't consider anything in this country to be a privilege. I'm a captive.
Well, they're coming with this. Well, they're coming with the social equity program, which is a quote unquote semi form of reparations. You know what I mean? But it's not just for black. It's a minority thing. It's a urban thing. It's a criminal thing. And if you fall under any of those as well as zip codes, then you qualify for the social equity program, which I qualify because I caught a case and of cannabis related only. There was no guns involved. And I was facing 20 years. So they give me privilege, because I did time and I also live in the zip code where.
Absurd.
Yes. I served the time for that. And I live in a zip code also where if there's a high arrest of high incarceration rate or a high arrest rate of just cannabis only in those zip codes, then you qualify. Or you live in that.
Another way of redlining you.
Redlining you.
Yeah. When we were over in Amsterdam and we were talking to the people there decades ago, and I remember us talking to one guy that, we were talking about how it was legal over there, and at one time it wasn't. Mm-hmm. And he said what it was is they realized they were putting all of their good citizens in prison. He said all of our good citizens are being put in jail for what? For smoking cannabis. A sticky? That's what they call them over there, little stickies. He said for smoking a sticky, so they changed the laws because criminals are criminals. Somebody smoking marijuana.
That's not a criminal.
Get out of here. That's not a
Somebody
criminal.
smoking crack is not a criminal.
Right.
They're just doing their drug.
And see what they did over there is
they need to stop that.
They had facilities for people who were addicted even to hard drugs to be able to come and get fixed without criminalizing them. Mm-hmm. So the people that were on heroin, the people that were on cocaine, they had some place they could go to get fixed up without becoming a criminal.
Right.
And to me, that is a civilized way of looking at it. But when you look at the way that they do things here, everything somewhere in America for 400 years always boils down to race. Brown versus white, black versus white, dark versus light. It always boils, and punishment and criminalization and degrading and everything that they can do with that. And that's really our issue. I mean, when you look at why marijuana was criminalized the way it was, and look at what parts of the world it comes from, what color are those people? I mean, really, when you really look into it, the answer is right there in front of you. So going forward, we just want it to be equal for everybody. Nobody should be criminalized for marijuana. Get out of here. You're not criminalizing people for drinking wine, for drinking beer. I don't even like the fact that when we go to the dispensary, we have to sign like in with your driver's license and all that stuff. Wow. You don't have to go through all that to buy some beer at 7-Eleven.
You sure don't.
Right.
You know,
You
if
just show 'em
if
the
if it's
little
a
ID and go.
12-year-old, they're not going to sell to a 12-year-old. If obviously you're a grown person, you can go buy beer and wine at the 7-Eleven without showing your ID. Why do I have to show my ID to get some marijuana?
Redliner.
It's
So we can
ridiculous.
keep a metric on you.
As I said, redliner.
Yeah, so you can keep a check on how much weed I'm buying. You got to
Right.
know how much weed I'm buying, how much I'm smoking. You know, I mean, get out of here.
It's nobody's business.
That's crazy.
Nobody's
But it
business.
just goes to show you, you know, all the compliance they're going through and, you know, shutting certain people down and, you know, whatever the changes they're going through, they need to just go on and chill. Let it be like brother is saying across the board, across the country. That's what they did in Amsterdam. That's what we need to be doing. And that way we
Absolutely.
can move forward.
Because it's a money making industry or entity, I should say, and it can save so many lives on and produce so much employment
Yes.
on so many levels.
On so
because it's
many
not just about the flower. You have different ancillary companies that are starting to bloom. And that's creating more employment. But if you want to keep it at bay, then all these companies that are professionally packaged and branded up, they're just sitting waiting in tow, and people are waiting in tow for employment, for finance, money to come in to feed their families. And these jobs can actually do that.
Yeah, and I saw a documentary.
Billions of dollars.
I saw a documentary where they were showing how there are people that have children right now with certain seizures
that.
and epilepsies
Yeah.
that they're suffering. They have to leave their home
to
state
go to another state
to
just
go
to-
to another
just to get a bottle of
state just
CBD.
to get the
Some
medicine
CBD.
from the marijuana. I mean, that's insane.
Yeah.
That really is insane. I heard, at one point, Christie back in Jersey was just shutting down this family from being able to get this CBD medicine. I mean, they're making such a big deal, and they're vilifying marijuana.
don't know.
It's all a bunch of lies. I
Yeah.
mean, we've been smoking for how long?
And ain't nobody
And
killed
I ain't
and-
out
and-
there,
Stealing from your kids,
doing all the things
piggy
that
bank.
they say marijuana gonna lead you to do.
Exactly.
You know,
The
reefer
gateway drug.
madness just cracks
Gateway
me
drug.
up. Right.
I'm gonna
you
tell
know?
y'all, I
Gateway
advise
drug.
everybody.
New Jersey, you said something about New Jersey, and I want to speak on that because because CBD right now has so many restrictions in New Jersey. I have people coming from New Jersey into my store and traveling all the way over the bridge to pick up CBD. And there are so many people who come in for not only pain relief, anxiety relief, but for seizure relief as well, because those oil tinctures really do the job.
Now, what kind of sense does that make? That doesn't make any sense.
It's absurd.
And that's the truth of what's happening. I saw that documentary. I was like, how could you stop these babies from getting the medicine that they need
Babies.
because you got some sort of stigma in your mind against marijuana, and none of it is true.
And all you gotta do is go back in history and look at all your friends or whoever that was rebels that was smoking that when y'all was kids. Look at them now. They ain't none of them fell off. Ain't none of them created. I mean, none of them did nothing. Jumped off bridges.
Yeah.
Broken houses. You know what I mean?
But I know people who have had liquor problems, that have had to go in and out of rehab, that have destroyed relationships with their families, with their friends, with their jobs because of liquor, because of crack,
I don't think
because
they
of
have a
cocaine.
rehab for weed, do they?
No, they do.
Well, they do.
They do, yeah.
If you
They
want to
do,
stop
yeah.
smoking weed, they got places
Yeah,
that
they got
say you
weed
can
and
stop. I
honest.
mean, I don't know why anyone would want to stop.
I really
But
don't.
if you want to
Yeah,
stop,
how you go to
know,
rehab for
stop.
cannabis?
All you gotta do is just
I
stop.
never
You
liked
know what I'm
that.
saying?
Stop if you don't.
And even if
I
you
mean,
don't stop,
really.
you can still blow as much as you
The
want. It
thing
ain't doing
is,
nothing to you. You
There
just
are
spending.
times I can't smoke.
You just
I
spending
mean, I
money.
just did a film in Santo Domingo, right? I was over there for a couple of weeks. I couldn't get any marijuana. Well, I wasn't running around
crazy.
with the triggers.
Right.
You know, oh,
Exactly.
God, I got to get my mix. Woo, Now, if you're alcoholic and you don't get
you
some alcohol,
you over there shivering.
you going to be crazy. You're going to be doing crazy things to
Yep.
people.
Yep.
If you are
No
addicted to
cigarettes.
heroin or even cigarettes,
You're going to be
you
frantic.
gonna be, but I wasn't, all bent out of shape because
Not at
I
all.
just couldn't get any smoke. It wasn't no
You're right.
big
Like
deal.
you on the worst you be
So
like,
whatever this addiction is that they talking about, what is that? That's some more lies.
people smoke cannabis because they don't like to. The worst you're going to do is say, damn, I wish I had some, oh man, it'd be good to smoke trees right now.
Yeah,
That's
I wish
it.
I could have a joint.
After a good meal or something. Like,
I
damn.
was over there for 2 weeks. I didn't smoke anything, and I did my movie, and I had a great time. When I came back home,
You
where
said
it was
you
legal,
Run it.
I was able to give me a joint and relax, and everything was cool.
Right back to normal.
I wasn't running around, what you call with the shakes.
Yeah. I advise everybody out there.
Well, I'd like to take a moment and have Don chime in when he gets the shakes. Tell us about your shakes, Don.
Those lies and that propaganda is synonymous with that other lie, liberty and justice for all.
Okay. I think he just went through the shakes. I don't know what he said.
Went through the shakes.
What I said was that's synonymous with that lie, liberty and justice for all. It's been vilified and demonized. And the other thing my last comment on that black privilege is we innately have the black privilege, like Maya Angelou said, that we like the phoenix rise. No matter what you do to us, you can't destroy us. So that's one of our privileges that we have. It's a curse and a privilege at the same time.
The strength to come back. The resiliency to come back. That's what we have.
It's within our DNA. It's innately within us.
Believe it.
So
I advise everybody to go out and watch, well, not go out, but if you have Netflix, whatever, please pull up Grass is Greener. Pull that documentary up. It will enlighten you to the fullest, especially about cannabis.
About cannabis.
It's about cannabis. That takes you back to Cab Calloway and Louis Armstrong, all these people, man. It's an
People need to be educated
documentary
about it,
Louis Armstrong got locked up, and he did this manifesto like, why don't they legalize this, and why don't it's medicine, you know what I mean? But he was saying stuff that we're saying right now. He was saying that way back in what was that, 1920s.
20s. Yeah.
And that's what this guy was saying in Amsterdam. He said we realized that we had all our decent citizens locked up in prison.
Wow.
And that's what you got your decent citizens locked up. And the ones that are out here that need to be locked up because they're hurting people,
Right,
harming
exactly.
people,
Animals out
and
here.
animals
Monsters.
acting like monsters. All the energy you're spending on locking up people who are nonviolent.
Nonviolent. You put them in there with animals.
And
like
you
me.
putting them in there
I'm a
with
nonviolent guy.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They
Exactly.
were getting ready to give me 20 years. I had 212 pounds of cannabis, don't get me wrong. But they was getting ready to give me 20 years for that.
And you didn't hurt nobody.
I ain't hurt nobody.
Yeah, right.
And then throw me in there in maximum security.
Yeah.
With murderers,
real hardcore
rapists.
animals.
But they're all,
that doesn't make any sense.
It didn't make no sense.
You didn't like it.
No, I didn't like that. I didn't like that.
And
But I held my
You
own.
didn't like
Think
it
of
at all.
all,
I like the fact that you had to go there.
Exactly.
and I had a lot of friends that happened to over the years.
It's a blessing that I got this.
Miss
Yeah.
Joyce,
Mike.
you mean with 200 pounds of cannabis?
Well, not with 200,000 with pounds,
Yeah,
but
right there.
even
I'm
with
only
a
kidding.
joint, or a bag or whatever,
Which is
depending
even more
on who they got
ridiculous if you
stopped
think about it.
by and how they felt at that moment, if they wanted to take them to jail, or maybe they didn't, kiss they behind enough or
They was
whatever.
taking pictures and doing high fives and all that in front of
But
all the
whatever,
cannabis stands
you
on
know.
like the state troopers in Michigan.
Yeah, to say that
On your
you know,
bust, Ikkor?
Yes, they was
Oh
doing
my
high
God.
fives and taking pictures. They
You
had a
probably
guy out there taking
one of
pictures.
the largest busts they ever had.
You know what I'm
Okay.
saying? I was
I'm
like,
I'm sure.
I just started, like the news was out there, Channel 4. I was like, oh my God.
This was in Detroit.
It's in Michigan. Yeah, I was coming from Chicago. Just almost made it back to Michigan. Only an hour and 50 minutes away. And bam, they got it. Me and my Mexican buddy from out here. It was all bad. We in there with Ohio plates, coming from Chicago, going to Michigan, Mexican and black with California license.
Okay.
You know, he's a decent
man.
people
They
that
just wanted to see
don't
who he
need to
was
be
anyway.
locked
Anyway.
up.
So I was like,
Decent people.
There was so many people that got on the internet was like, why are y'all taking them? Y'all taking away all the medicine from everybody. That's some good stuff that y'all doing. I mean, that y'all taking away from those guys plus the medicine, you know. There's a lot like
And see, by
literally
doing
thousands
that,
of people.
they turn you into felons who can't vote.
Or they turn us into animals.
That
'Cause we
and that
locked up.
too.
Yeah.
But not being able to vote.
That's another-
a stigma
yeah.
now, because what that does is that keeps you in a certain demographic of people now that they have worked at being able to take that privilege.
But
You
you're allowed
no
to vote. You're allowed to
longer
vote.
have a-
You're allowed to vote, though. You're allowed to vote. I vote.
Well, yeah.
I vote. I'm a felon. I
What
vote.
I'm saying is,
Okay,
a
well,
lot of these things, when they make it
Two-time.
illegal, like what they're doing to women right now with the abortion rights, all of that, by making it illegal and eventually turning you into a felon or something like that can't vote,
Yeah.
then we can change the law
Right.
back to the way we want it. And that's what people have to look at, you know, because the more trouble you get in with the law, what was that 3 times thing that
strikes.
Bush started,
3 strikes.
you know, and they can just lock you away forever.
Even if you had like you just stole like a piece of gum or
a piece of bread,
Yeah.
a loaf of bread,
being
and
around
a
a
joint.
parole,
There
being
were
around
a
somebody,
lot of
being around
cases
another
like
felon.
that
A loaf
that
of
were coming
bread,
up
a
in the
joint.
90s.
Being around another felon.
And then
Which
now,
is your
now
cousin.
all of a
Oh
sudden,
yeah, just being around
Your
them.
cousin.
being
Yeah,
around
association.
someone else.
And we
So-
black, and where we gonna go?
Yeah.
So that creates
Any neighborhood you
an
go to.
underground demographic of people. And, you know, we need to be a lot more realistic and civilized.
They need to change
about
that. They
this.
need to change that about being around another felon. Like, I mean, what are they two gonna do after they done served time, whatever? I mean, what's the? Some people are still out here wild, but that's still if they were felons or not, you still can put 2 people together that's gonna do some crime. So if they were felons, they're gonna do crimes whether they're felons or not. So why are you gonna like penalize these people for just standing
Well, I
with each
think
other, being in the same environment?
Certain two minds, when they get together, they ain't got no business getting
That's
together.
right, but regardless of the
Certain.
fact, they're gonna still do it. They're gonna still do it
Well,
even
they
if
say
they.
that. Maybe,
That's
maybe
what
not.
they're gonna do.
They're gonna do it regardless.
Maybe,
Yeah.
maybe not. But some of them, sometime they get together, they wouldn't have thought of doing that until they got with the influence. Now, I understand about influence. I know a lot of people that done been to jail. Some of them didn't belong there, but some of them did
Yeah,
belong
no,
there.
most definitely.
Okay, and
Most
the ones
definitely.
that belong there, that's one of the reasons for that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because sometimes they don't need to get with somebody else.
That's true. That's
they
true.
get with them and
They
they
somebody's
start
worst
thinking up
nightmare.
things,
Somebody's
you know.
worst nightmare.
So I
Yeah,
ain't talking about
chemical
that.
reaction.
Yeah,
Two people
you know,
get
some
together, they
folks
both
don't
get
need
strange
to,
things.
like
Yeah.
birds of a feather
Yeah.
flock together.
The
They
apple
don't,
don't fall too far from the tree.
they don't need to have the same ideas with each other.
You right.
But somebody just sitting around smoking some weed,
Yeah.
I mean, get out of here.
I mean,
You know.
majority
All right,
of
guys.
people that we walk past, I felt.
Let me jump in real quick. That music was a cue for the break because we're going to be wrapping this short real quick. But before we go, I want to get back to Donnie G, who's joined us. It's getting late there in Philadelphia, Don. Can you put a bow in this for us from Pennsylvania in terms of how you feel the industry is moving? I think that it's moving in a positive direction. I think you're seeing that, but maybe, we need to just kind of hang in there and be more patient. How do you weigh in on that notion?
Well, my mother was always doing things with the civil rights movement and marching and coming home, and I see her looking like Angela Davis, and I'm like, what's the peace sign on your chest mean with the fist with Black Power on it? And she said they were marching to try and get us our rights. Well, that was, now I'm going to tell my age, but that was 45, 50 something years ago. I was maybe 7 years old. 50 years, a half a century is too long for me to see my freedom. And I want my freedom. Now, I go to a dispensary, and that dispensary around the corner from my house gets raided by federal agency that comes in and takes their cookbooks and candles that have CBD and THC in them away because they can't regulate it. It's ridiculous. So I want complete freedom. That's my take on Philadelphia and the rest of the world and the rest of the states in the ununited states.
And to that extent, do you feel that you have some black privilege?
Yes, that I continue to rise.
Well spoken, my brother. I see that you have to go, and I wanted to get you off on the good foot, and I want to thank you first and foremost, brother.
Good foot. Which one is that?
For taking the time now. That's James Brown.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me, and it was a privilege and honor to be on the panel with your esteemed guests, and I've been a fan for quite some time. Love you guys, and love you all, and stay medicated.
All right, thank you.
Philly in the building. Philly in the building.
Yes,
Don
sir.
G.
All right, Don G, thank you very much once again for joining us, man. We're going to close out with that segment
We
of
didn't
the
even
show
see his
right
tiny
now.
desk dispensary today.
Yeah, that's all right. We'll come back to it. So I'll go back to you guys on the panel. When it comes to the issue of social equity, how do you all weigh in on that? Because, again, I thought that was the closest thing I was going to get to reparations.
They're taking too long. Because, I mean, the reason why I say it's taking too long, because it's always an agenda behind everything. And what they're doing is want to make sure they got all their T's crossed and all their I's dotted so they can be in position to get this money that once it start going, they're going to be capitalizing off the rip. After all them years of being against it, they like, okay, we're going to get in it and then
Let's
capitalize
get some
it.
money now.
It don't make sense, man. And that's all. And that's what the holdup is.
We mentioned earlier in the show, Ikkor, that in Pennsylvania, one of my another buddy of mine from Pennsy in Philly said that they're talking about licensing for like $1 million in Pennsy. So, oh my God!
They want to keep everybody. That's to keep everybody out.
We
the
know
small people out.
that cannabis doesn't cost that much. It's a simple seed.
It's $50,000 in Atlanta, Georgia, just to have the application process, right?
Are you serious?
And it's a non-refundable.
Right.
Yes.
So
Same thing
now,
in Philly.
so now you're gonna have to play these mind games to say, or strategize, say, to put the face of somebody else out there, because they see Darnell Jenkins coming through there, they like, that's easy 50,000.
Yeah,
Denied.
take that. Bye.
Denied.
Denied.
You know, and that's your
No
hard-earned
reason.
money.
Denied.
That's your
Yeah.
hard-earned money. And people will go ballistic with that. Postal.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
$50,000.
Yeah, the people go postal because that's my
People
family,
get
this is my money.
killed
I done had
for
people. I done
less.
had people that had invested me to get this, and now you putting this pressure on me, and then you deny me.
Yeah.
Oh,
People get killed.
so
for less.
that ain't nothing but just to keep the small man out the game, or
Yeah.
keep the minorities out the game, because they know we don't have. A lot of us don't have 50,000 like that.
You know, there's two things. One, Martin Luther King said the arc of justice leans towards liberty or something like that. I'm saying it wrong, but that's the idea, that it takes a long time, but eventually things will
It
straighten
happens.
out.
Straighten out.
It will happen. So things are getting better. Unfortunately, we also have a cycle societally where, you know, we go one step, come back two, go one step, come back two.
Yeah.
You know, we get Obama, then we get Trump. What is that but one step
One
and then
back,
two
two,
back? You know
three.
what I'm saying? 3, 5, you know.
Shit.
But eventually it does get better. I never thought that I would actually see weed legal in my lifetime, but I
Me too.
did. And, you know, from young age, when I first started smoking weed in school, like little kids do now, not little kids, but
Right.
you know what I mean.
Right.
But from then till now, I have seen those changes. And luckily, I live in a good zip code, you know, California, where a liberal government has allowed us to have it. My boy back in Philly, they got restrictions. I can imagine certain other states where it's like no
man.
chance at all.
No chance at all. You about to go under the jail.
You're going to
Alabama.
jail.
That's still
That's
going
ain't
on.
California here.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, this is California here.
Yeah.
And all that talk that they used to do, the conservatism, I'm talking about states' rights. Our state has the right to
Right.
say that I can smoke my weed and pass the joint. Thank you.
But I wrote a piece a long time ago, way before they legalized it, and it was called Legalization. And it was I'm a hip hop artist, so I wrote it. It only was one verse, and I just wrote about legalization. And I was way ahead of. This is over 20 years ago, way ahead of my time with it. And I said they're going to call it's going to be called Marijualogist. Like marijuana cigarettes. They're going to be called Marijualogist. You know what I mean? And the Surgeon General says do not. It's going to say all that stuff on there. And I'm like, when the last time you seen cannabis that said, Surgeon General says, just like on a box of cigarettes, But that's what they're going to have on the Marijualogist, basically. And they're going to give you like a little cigarette type of high, when they come out with the Marlboros and the Newports come, because they already set in position to come out. So when they come out, they're going to probably have like these cigarette-looking marijuana sticks. And it's gonna probably give you like a little fake high.
See that this weekend.
Fake high, like a cigarette high, where you give you this, and then it lasts only about like 15 minutes, and then you got to keep smoking 20, or however many they have in there.
Well, that's how they messed up tobacco anyway. When people used to smoke tobacco, they smoked real tobacco, natural cigarettes. Once they figured out a way to manufacture it and sell it and mess it up, they put all the nicotine and all the other poison that's in there, and it became a stick of poison.
Right.
It wasn't the same thing that it started out with when you actually rolled your tobacco way back in the day. And if we're not careful, they'll do that to our marijuana.
Most
because
definitely.
I love it in its pure form. But all this other stuff that they'll start doing to it, we have to be careful of that.
And that's what I said too in my legalization piece. I said I'd rather still go down, because they're temperate. I said I'd rather still go down to the spot.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Where my man Russ got it at the spot, and get it from him, because it's going to be guaranteed, Instead of getting it from all this how people say, that's that medical weed, It's the medical weed. They put
But
stuff
I have
in
opinions about that too, because all of that medical, certain states have the medical, some don't. But all of that is even more BS, if you ask me, because
It's no medical weed.
Either if you're gonna legalize it for recreation, then it's recreation. I mean, Jack Daniels, you can use it for a hot toddy for medicine.
Exactly.
But you can also just go to the liquor store and buy some and
take it home and
do what you want to do with
Right.
it. So why do I have to go through all these
like you
changes
said,
of
right.
getting a doctor's
Like I said, like
report?
you writing a letter. Going to sign in and my ID.
And go
Checking
get
all these different
all
things.
of that crap.
Everyone you go to.
Sign your name here.
Initial your name on all these boxes.
You are now a member of the club.
It's like they're still shaking their finger at you, even though it's been legalized.
Right.
So it takes a while. I mean, I tell people we're about to go into the roaring 20s again. Think about that.
And they called it jive. They called it jive back then. All of a sudden, they had hit records talking about jive, but the jive was the cannabis.
That's what it was.
Jive. They talking about that jive. And they were hit songs.
Called it dope. Called it all kinds of stuff. Grass. But think about that. The 1920s were the roaring 20s. We're getting ready to go into the 2020s.
I wouldn't mind.
The roaring 20s.
That's the era that I wouldn't mind living in too. The 30s, 20s, and 30s.
Yeah.
Because they just the men were like gentlemen. They wore suits.
Yeah.
Well, we don't know what our 20s are going to be like, but they're going to be roaring with them legalizing marijuana and all this interesting stuff that's going on. We don't know we don't know if it's gonna be roaring or what it's gonna be. Psychedelic.
No doubt.
What the heck is the 20s gonna be like?
Man,
I know. We are in the 20s, huh?
We gotta
We're
watch
getting
out.
ready to go into the 20s.
You're right.
It's like the second roaring 20s.
You're right.
100 years later.
Wow.
We're going into the 20s.
What is it gonna be?
What is it gonna be?
And
like?
we don't even know until we see it.
Okay, we've had a black president and a black first lady.
Wow.
And like
I never even
Dan
thought about it
said,
like that.
we've been, everything has been rolled back.
I never thought about it like that.
Yeah,
Wow,
100 years later, we're going into the 20s again, and
That's
things
deep.
are repeating themselves historically that I'm not comfortable with.
And when it repeats itself, it's like a mixture of gumbo of all those things
stuff.
that went, within that 100 years.
So we look at what's going on with Trump and the White House now and the rollback, them trying to get rid of everything that Obama set up for the future. They just started lobbing it away.
They
And
got so petty they even paved over or did something, got rid of the garden that Michelle had in the back.
Yeah,
Oh, God.
that petty.
That's hatred. You know,
Isn't that?
man.
That's real petty, isn't
is
it?
They
hatred.
just want to salt the ground.
Get rid of that now. I want it gone now.
Yes.
Get rid of it. If not, you're fired.
Then
You're
Reagan
fired.
did the same thing. Jimmy Carter put solar panels up on the White House.
Ain't that something?
Reagan snatched them off.
Snatched them off to take
You
us
know,
back. I was
take us
just
back.
thinking
Take us
about
back.
how much Reagan rolled us back when
Everything.
he
That's
the old boy network.
even
That
when
was
he
that
was
old boy
governor
network.
of California.
For the last
A movie star.
generation, every time a Republican comes in, he messes up so bad that they have to put a Democrat in to clean
Yeah.
it up.
Clean it up. What is
And
that
that's-
about?
That's the end of Reagan, because Bush came in. At the end of Bush,
Yep.
Clinton.
And what
Had to
they
come
tend to
in. After
do
Clinton,
is
that
stop progress.
Yeah.
You're building and then they stop it. When I look at how bad the traffic is here, you know, Dan and I, we've been around a while. And there are things we know that a lot of people don't realize. But I remember a time when you could drive around Los Angeles and it was fun.
Right.
And you didn't have to stick to rush hour to be able to, you know, get around rush hour to get
Right, right,
around.
right,
Rush
right.
hour is all day long
Every
now.
day now. Every day.
every
Saturday,
moment
Sunday,
of
Monday, every day. And I was
And-
speaking that on my feed today. I was like, we spend most of our time in our
Our
cars.
cars.
Yeah.
That's it.
driving.
And we those are that's moments that you can't get back.
But it's
You know,
people
that
like
you could be doing
that
productive
when
stuff.
they got in office that
hours.
We
beat
still
down
on?
progress.
Oh, okay.
They beat down progress. They stopped the train that eventually got built anyway, that metro train. And Reagan didn't want that built. A lot of them, when they got in office, they stopped that progress. And by stopping that progress, they stopped us from being able to be that future city we should have been by now.
Right.
The traffic is ridiculous in this city. How are you going to be a world-class city and people can't
people
get
can't
get
around?
around.
You know, we're supposed to have the Olympics here. Well, how are you going to handle
We
that?
watched a documentary yesterday about L.A. You know, just showing you how it looked back when it was just desert land or whatever. It still was some buildings and everything constructed, but then they started showing you the modern, and they started to get more and more modern. And it was like, still was less traffic out there. So the lady was narrating. She was like, it once was a 15-minute drive, takes now hour and a half.
Maybe 2 hours.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, I used to be able, I lived out here in the 70s before I moved to New York and met Dan. But I was a young lady, and I used to be able to drive from the valley all the way downtown Los Angeles and back. I used to be able to do 2 trips a day.
Right.
That's impossible now.
That's totally
Absolutely
impossible.
impossible.
If you leave something at home and you done drove like at least for 3 to 5 minutes, you like, I ain't about to go back. Because so much traffic is going to suck up in that time that you have to go
that
back.
10 minutes
and
could turn
just to
into
get back,
45 minutes.
just to turn around is a venture.
Yeah.
It's a freaking venture.
Getting around LA is the one thing that I
People
hate about
everywhere.
LA now. I love Los Angeles and I love California, but watching and witnessing what the traffic has become over the past decades, it's just awful.
And yet there are thousands of more people flying in
Still
right
coming in.
now, daily.
Well, some people are leaving after the earthquake. We were dancing during the 7.1
No, that's right.
earthquake. We were at my Funkicize class. Want to mention
go
it
ahead.
again.
Yeah, shout it out.
Every Friday night from 8 to 9 at Evolution Dance Studios on Burbank Boulevard, just east of Vineland Avenue. Now, I won't be there the rest of this month because I'm filming a project. But we'll be back the first Friday of August, and we're there every Friday. Dan's there too. We be dancing. I teach all the dances
He be
from the
dancing.
60s and 70s and 80s to the music from the 60s. So we be jamming to the jams.
We be
You know what I'm
jamming.
saying?
Baby John,
Okay,
I got to get out
baby.
there. I have to get out there eventually.
Yeah, we have a ball, and it's 1 hour. We dance in socks. It's a sock hop, just like we used to do back in the 60s.
Sadie Hawkins, sock hop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm tricking middle-aged
That makes
people
it
into
easier
exercise.
to do your James Brown
Oh,
slide.
like your slide. People
Yeah,
love to
because I
slide.
teach the James Brown slide,
Oh.
and I teach the camel walk, and the boogaloo, and the shing-a-ling, and the mashed potatoes, and the four corners.
Keeping
the
it
cool
alive.
jerk,
Keeping all those
jerk.
dances alive. People don't even know about it.
They
A lot
don't
of people
even
don't
know
know about
those
those dances.
dances, and a lot of the kids, when they come to my class, the kids sometimes they end up taking the class even as much as their parents.
Right.
But they find out where the dances came from, the hip-hop dances came from. So I love to tell them, you know, when we do the funky chicken, you know, they just turned the funky chicken out. She was lost and turned out and turned it into the twerk. That's all it is. Funky
Exactly.
chicken, lost
That's
and
all it
turned
is.
out. That's all twerking is.
That's all.
All right,
it
look,
is.
we got to get to a break real quick, y'all. And I know y'all got to go.
Yeah, we gotta go.
y'all got
I
to
got an
go.
early
They got
call in the
things to
morning
do.
on this shoot I'm
So
doing.
hold on, let's put a bow on it before you go.
Okay.
Let's put out any information you want people to know about you.
Well, the one thing I want people to know is my Funkicized dance exercise
That part.
class. All right, I want them to know that. I've trademarked it, so it is mine. We've been doing it almost 5 years here in North Hollywood.
Every Friday.
Every Friday night from 8 to 9. You can go to Funkicize.com or you can go to EllaJoyce.com and you can get my Funkicize page.
Is there is
And
there a fee for this class?
Huh?
Is there a fee for this class?
Yes, it's $10 for
Okay.
1 hour, and it's cash, people. I don't do the credit cards and none of that.
that's
It's just a
square.
quickie little fun recreation class. You don't have to have any dance experience. All you have to do is want to do the funky chicken and have a funky good time
your body.
to James Brown. So we gonna be, you know, we work our arms, we work our legs, we work our feet. I teach the camel walk, all of those kind of fun dances, and people have a good time. And I have people all ages, middle age, old folks, young folks. You do as much as you can. If you have to sit down, catch your breath, it's okay. We keep dancing. You can come on back with us.
Is your website anything? Or,
But the website is funkicize.com. Funkicize, Funkicize.com.
There we
Follow
go.
her, Ella Joyce. Follow her at Ella Joyce.
Rousing
Good.
round of applause.
How about you, Dan? What you got? How can they follow you? How can they find
I'm
you?
going to pop up on your screen again soon. Just watch. You'll see me.
Yeah.
Follow him at Dan Martin. At Dan
Dan's
Martin.
always working on something. He's
At
always
Dan Martin.
Dan Martin. And you can go to Ella
Actor
Joyce.
Dan Martin.
Actor Dan Martin.
And I'm on Instagram.
There we go.
I'm on Facebook.
There we
And
go.
I'm on Twitter.
You know what I always say? I just say FIT, which is Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, acronym. Just say, just fit me. Ella Joyce.
Fit me?
Yeah, that's Facebook,
Is that what they
Instagram.
say now?
Instagram.
Fit me?
That's what I say. That's just my term.
Okay.
Quick, you know what I'm saying?
Thank
Just
you
get
for
it out
that.
instead of having to say all them words. Just say, just
You
fit
know,
me.
you have to keep us updated.
Facebook, Instagram, Twitter.
Yeah, I'm on
Fit.
all of that.
Fit.
And also I want people to know Funkicize has been to Detroit. I'll be in Detroit the weekend of July 29th. And that's a nice picture of us.
Tell my people.
And
Wait now.
been to
wait,
New York.
Wait now. Ooh that. Ooh that.
let me dancing as a young
that.
lady. Look at that.
Lord, how lucky you are, Danny.
I always
boy.
wanted to dance.
That's
That's
what
when
you
you
dance.
snatched
Snatched
me.
it.
Ooh that.
Oh, where you grab
For the
that
pickings.
picture?
You
Oh,
don't
that's what-
know.
Yep,
You
look at
over
us
there.
dancing.
Yes,
snatching
ma'am.
you.
There's Maria Howell up there in the front.
kids in there?
Okay, a lot of people dancing with us. Our
Yep.
Funkicize class. Honey, we be having a ball.
And there's the banner. I'm gonna put the banner up. I think that's accurate, right?
Yes, we're at Evolution Studios, 10816 Burbank Boulevard, every Friday night. So I'll be back in August, and the website is always up to date, so you can always check it before you come in. I only have to cancel a class when I'm shooting or filming something, and all of my patron dancers, they all understand that, and they hate it when I'm gone, but
Love
they
it when you
encourage
back.
me and they support
Love it when
me.
you back, though.
When I come back, there's a line waiting for me to come back.
Nice.
So, and we've been doing this almost 5 years.
I'm
It'll
going,
be a
I
5
gotta
year
get out there.
in October. It'll be 5 years we've been doing Funkicize.
I'm about to
Rousing
get off the
round
show
of
here and
applause
run
for
right
you,
out
mama.
there.
All right, so let's take a break, and we're going to let these good folks go. I want to tell you, I really appreciate y'all coming through so much.
Down.
This was fun.
And, man, it's going to be more fun when you come back. Trust
All
me when I
right.
tell you.
Sure.
I'll come back and be able to
Giannis
hopefully
time.
tell you about the show
Oh, yeah.
that I'm in.
No doubt.
Okay.
All right, so once again, we want to give you a rousing round of applause.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Ella
Dan
Joyce.
Martin, Ella Joyce in the
Nike
building.
Cinema.
What'd you say?
Nightmare Cinema. That's a movie that's going to be coming out soon. That's
Okay.
another one. I'm trying to remember.
Nightmare Cinema, y'all. What were they gonna find it with Netflix or you don't? Do you,
I think probably Netflix, but I don't know. I'm the last one they tell.
that's all right. Like,
know,
so you got that check. You got
You
that
know-
check
Oh, I
already.
got to check. Yeah.
We
Got
do
to
them
check
and
it.
forget about them until they pop up.
That's right, no doubt.
Well, that would be a topic I'd like to discuss on another show outside the Marijualogist, how you all create such great entertainment, such great hits, and then move to the next one. While we, as consumers of your great work, languish and live in your, and bask, in fact, in your greatness. So I want to have a show to talk about the fact that artists create all this incredible content, and then they move on.
All right now.
But that's another show. Anyway,
For sure.
all right, take us to the break, Ikkor.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank y'all for tuning in. We'll be right back on The Marijualogist, hosted by yours truly, Ikkor the Wolf and Richard Karr, and my special guest, Ella Joyce and Dan Martin. Power team here, y'all. You dig? We'll be right back, y'all. Vibration Frequency Studios, vibrationfrequency.com. Stay tuned to your internet dials.
She have a rich history, a beautiful woman with the sweetest gifts. Beautiful sunrise and an evening kiss of a nice sunset on the evening season. But she tell me, say she tired of the exploit and the liars. She give them reggae, give them beaches, give them flowers and the ferns. All she got is abuse in return. But I say, don't you worry yourself, mama. Hey, Chronics is here to your help, mama. Ooh, I said no worry yourself, mommy. One thing me I beg you do for me. And I say smile, girl, smile. Smile for me, Jamaica. And I said smile, girl, smile. Hey, smile for me, Jamaica. Never you cry, here am I. Girl, I'm here for you, Jamaica. What must I try? Oh my, that she asks me, and this I want me say. A sweet, sweet chronics, you figure them, give them. The one drop beat pan a rhythm. Are you give them bob with a different step in? Are you give them bolt, nobody can run left him. Boy, but see ya, them must see things say you're out of ideas. You give them art and sweet literature. You gonna make the world see the better picture. I said no worry yourself, mama. Chronics is here to your help, mama. Hey, I said no worry yourself, mommy. One thing me I beg you do. And I said smile.
I know some Babylon put up a sign saying no smoking. But Rastafari rise a sign saying no smoking. Yeah, man, come here, show them, say them man come see it. And them live with it. On Babylon, they go drop flesh, leave it still a flourish up on the earth. You know? Whoa, whoa, whoa. Dang. Hey, officer, take these handcuffs off of me. I can't take it anymore. Why you acting like you've never seen a good draw of my jungle before? But now you're telling her you're nice. If you follow you go down a station. Me little style and me juggling. I mean not in a drug smuggling. My herbs is all I've got. So tell me what you're looking at. Squaddy, don't you know? Is it because I'm black? Tell me what you're looking at. Squaddy, don't you know? What make you no so jumpy copy? What make you call your friend for walkie-talkie? And with your little matic, you not stop boast. And I say you win looking at, squaddy, don't you know? I ain't got no bombs, nor guns, nor weapons of destruction. So let go me on, Bobby Rock, let go me on. I ain't got no poisonous gas to suffocate the nation. Bobby Rock, so let go me on, let go me on. Bang, my herbs is all I've got. So tell me what you're looking at, squaddy, don't you know? Is it because I'm black? Tell me what you're looking at, squaddy, don't you know? Oh, nah, nah. Oh, nah, 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 nah. Let me rid of my bones, the meditation of my heart. Accept the thing thy sight, those are my strength and my redeemer. Just live upright and seek Jah, and you will be okay. Okay. Seek Jah first, and if you're lost, He will guide you on the way, righteous way. Hear you whenever you cry, and He see you whenever you lie. 'Cause He alone knows your problem, He alone can solve them. So if you know what I know, you better start praying to Him. Just live upright and seek Jah, and you will be okay. Okay. Seek Jah first, and if you're lost, He will guide you on the way, righteous way. Hey, King a sleep, King a see clean. Every liar, every thief, they criticize we. As I go deep, shall go find Rasta. Rasta never last. I was born a real Rasta. To come and tell the African queens. Positivity we teach in the street. I saw me see it, the Rasta Philippine. So the others can learn from me. Hey, hold me at the doors with their problems. And all of those that blaspheme, you're going to see them. So tell me what you gonna say, what you gonna do for all the wrong things that you go out and do. You never know that Jah is watching you. Just live upright and seek Jah, and you will be okay. Okay. Seek Jah first, and if you're lost, He will guide you on the way, righteous way. Looking at the shooting star up in the sky so far, and the moon it shines in the night. It make me you, it seems like it's daylight. Oh,
Then suddenly I had a plan, had a man and never mattered. See, you played it cool, was doing you and I was doing me. The others faded, no, you're the only light I see. I'll tell you everything that you wanna hear now. I want to let you know that you're a king to me. Do I make you feel like the only man in the world? Do I make you know in your heart and soul that I will always be your girl? Do I make you feel like the only man in the world? Yes, I do. Do I make you feel like you're the only man I've loved in the world?
I wasn't looking for anything too serious. Tired of being hurt, tired of losing trust. Now things are different, thinking of commitment couldn't really be so bad. Now look at what we have.
I'll tell you anything that you wanna hear now. I'm here to let you know that you're a king of me. Do I make you feel like the only man in the world?
Don't judge me, but full of quality and integrity. Watch how you chat to me, give respect to me, and an opportunity, and you'll remember me. Come make we live up and prove them wrong. I know every youth I got on gunman, don't give up. Get to youth, be strong. The whole of we are star, we are born champion. Live up and prove them wrong. Every ghetto girl get your education, don't give up. Get to youth, be strong. We've got to make the change and lay the foundation. At a young tender age, Babylon lock we in a cage. Want on you in a mental slave. Who no mad, them put down in a grave. But them can't get you out in a this your time. We no hype but we proud, not commit no crime. And I know we gonna live it up right. Come make we live up and prove them wrong. I know every youth I got gunman, don't give up. Get a youth, be strong. The whole of we are star, we are born champion. Live up and prove them wrong. Easy get a girl, get your education, don't give up. Youth, be strong. We've got to make the change and lay the foundation. Take away for fooling, them ridiculing. We are the stone that the builder refuse. Some talk a lot but never walk in our shoes. And them think it easy if you live how we do. And get we out in a distant time. We no hype but we proud, not committing no crime. And I know we gonna live it up right. Come make we live up and prove them wrong. I know every youth I got gunman, don't give up. Get a youth, be strong. The whole of we are star, we are born champion. Live up and prove them wrong. Every ghetto girl gets her education, don't give up. Youth, be strong.
When you truly love somebody, you gotta let it show. 'Cause that's the only way they can know. It's when you surely love somebody, you want the love to grow. You gotta nurture and water it like any seed you sow. Show how much you care and always be there. A shoulder to lean on in times of despair. Show how you appreciate and never underrate the simple things that make a relationship great. It's when you truly love somebody, you gotta let it show. 'Cause that's the only way they can know. 'Cause when you you surely love somebody and you want the love to grow, you gotta nurture it and water it like any seed you sow. And people were meant to be, there is nothing to change their destiny. Nothing at all. All they need is sincerity for them to last through eternity. Once they found love, then they'll know love and stand side by side. Endlessly, love will be the guide. Will be the same love.
That is great along your smoke over there, you know. You know, promoting a coke thing. Hey, no. Sure. I got my sense in me a plantation in the hills. Cause me no want no crack pipe and rasta man no swallow pill. Marijuana smoke is what's coming through my window sill. A ganja empire, I build. Hey, police 8,000 gram my white last night. Somebody drop it on the course of a helicopter flight. Them suspect rasta and them neglect me rights. And raid me house at night with gun and flashlight. Yo, ganja smokes in the air.